Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Dane, your host of the Rock and Metal Guardian. I hope you're having a great day. Today I'm going to rank the entire discography of Black Sabbath from worst to first. But before we dive into that, I wanted to mention I am going to include the Heaven and Hell album entitled The Devil You Know because it is essentially a Black Sabbath album. It is the Ronnie James Dio era Black Sabbath. It's just under a different name because Iommi was playing with both Ozzy and Ronnie James Dio around the same time. Hence the different name of the band. So let's go ahead and get started now. Number 20 is the album Forbidden, the last Tony Martin era release. And I find this album atrocious. There's nothing about it that I like whatsoever. I don't find anything redeeming about it whatsoever. And it's not because Ice-T is on it. It's just overall, there's nothing about it that I can latch on to that I enjoy. So number 20 is Forbidden. Number 19, also a Tony Martin era album, and that is Cross Purposes. Why is it 19 instead of 20? Well, we're really splitting hairs here. All I can say is that Cross Purposes is not as boring as Forbidden, but it's still boring. So 19, Cross Purposes. Number 18 is The Eternal Idol. I find this boring as well. Nothing really memorable here. Now, the guitar work here I find better than Cross Purposes and Forbidden, but it's not enough to invite me back for another listen. So, The Eternal Idol, while having better guitar work, I just don't enjoy it enough that I want to listen to this. Number 17 is Seventh Star. Originally, this was supposed to be a solo release, an Iommi solo project or album. And of course, like so many artists we've seen historically, the record company manipulated or intimidated or forced Iommi in this case to make it a Black Sabbath record because that's what's going to sell, right? The name, not the solo artist. Unfortunately, that's how it works in too many cases. I don't like this album much. It has because it has so much of an 80s feel to it. It doesn't fit with what you know and love to be a Black Sabbath. It doesn't have that Black Sabbath feel. While I love Glenn Hughes as a vocalist, I don't think his vocals fit with what's going on here on the album. Now, having said that, I don't think you can get the Ray Gillen demos or tracks. I think at one point you could, but I think Ray Gillen would have fit better with the songs on here. Anyway, just a thought. I like the guitar work on this album, but that's it. And so it gets the low ranking that it does. The guitar I like here better than the other three I already mentioned, but not enough to compel me to listen to it that much, if at all. I don't listen to this at all anymore. So last four, these four that I've mentioned so far, I don't listen to at all anymore. Number 16. Number 16 is The Devil You Know by Heaven and Hell, the Ronnie James Dio era of Black Sabbath, the last Ronnie James Dio release. And there's not much about this album that I like either. I find it unmemorable as well. There's nothing here that captivates me or grabs me or resonates with me. I think the bass drum and guitar are just going through the motions. I like Ronnie's vocals, and that's why it gets a slight edge above the other four that I've already mentioned, but that's really it, and it's just not captivating at all much. Every once in a while I'll go back to listen to this one to hope maybe something will spark, and I listened to it a couple days ago before I did this video. I wanted to, check for the 100th time or something like that. Just, no, sorry. If you love this album or like this album, I'm jealous because I so much wanted to love this album. So 16 is The Devil You Know by Heaven and Hell, a.k.a. Black Sabbath. Number 15 is Never Say Die. And there are only two songs I like that I will listen to frequently are Title Track and Junior's Eyes. I just love the bass and the drums. The bass and drums are what make the song so captivating and heavy, and you want to air bass, you want to air drum while you listen to this. At least I do. Okay, so that's number 15. Coming in at number 14, this is where it gets confusing, sort of. Number 14 is the album entitled 13, And this is the last of the reunion albums with Ozzy. There are only 3 songs on this album that I like. Those are Loner, Age of Reason, and Live Forever. The rest is not memorable for me. And the 3 that I just mentioned, they're good or above average, but that's it. That doesn't say much. That does not say much for an album with about 10 tracks on it, where the 3 best songs are just slightly above average or good. Coming in at number 13 is Technical Ecstasy. There are 5 songs that I like on this album that I listen to quite often. That is Backstreet Kids, You Won't Change Me, Gypsy, All Moving Parts, Stand Still, and then Rock and Roll Doctor. I know a lot of people don't like Rock and Roll Doctor, but I do. So Technical Ecstasy, not a great album by any stretch of the imagination, but much better than Never Say Die in 13. Number 12, finally, a Tony Martin album that I really like, and that is Headless Cross. And quite a few tracks on here I like. I can listen to the start to finish, but there are 5. While I like most of the tracks, there are 5 that I like the most. The ones that I will listen to the most are The Gates of Hell, which is the introduction to the title track, the Headless Cross, or Headless Cross. Devil and Daughter is a good song. When Death Calls. Now, when I first heard this song, I didn't like it. And the reason for that is like the last minute and a half, you have the repetition of When Death Calls like 11 or 12 times. And that's monotonous, and it just didn't do anything for me at the time. And on top of that, during the rest of the song, you hear it about 10 or 11 more times. So you got 22 or so times you hear that phrase, the title of the song. And as I've listened to it more and more over the years, that doesn't bug me as much. It still bugs me, but not as much as it used to. So, and overall, despite that fact, it is a good song. I like it. Do I think the song's great? No, but I do like the song. So that is, again, When Death Calls. And of course, I like it because part of the reason why I like it is because you have a wonderful guitar solo from Brian May of Queen. And then my favorite song on the album is Black Moon, which has a Dio vibe to it, which is quite good. And I'm going to get to that again as I go through this list. So there you have it. Number 12 is the Tony Martin album, Headless Cross. Coming in at number 11 is the album Tear. Finally have some props for you because everything I've mentioned up to this point, not including this one, I just have an MP3 format. So Tear, at first glance, seems to be like a concept album. It's not, unfortunately, because the only mythologically based songs you have are the Battle of Tyr, Odin's Court, and Valhalla. Now, the rest of the album is good, too. You have Anno Mundi, The Lawmaker, Jerusalem, The Sabbath Stones, the mythologically based ones I just mentioned. The least favorite or weakest track for me is Feels Good to Me. I still like the song, but it is the weakest track on the album. I think it was the hit single or video, and then the last song, Heaven in Black, I think is fabulous. Now, as I mentioned with the Headless Cross album, how Black Moon has a Dio vibe to it, this whole album has a Dio vibe to it. And I have a theory. Can't prove it, but my theory is that I think the band, perhaps especially Iommi, went up to Martin and said, "Hey man, can you try to sing a little bit more like Dio?" That's what this album sounds like, what happened. Because his phrasing, Tony Martin's phrasing on here is very Dio-esque or Dio-like. Does he sound exactly like Dio or does he sound like Dio? No. But when you listen to it and you pay close attention, it has that, as I said, that Dio vibe to it. There's something about the phrasing. Again, I think Iommi said, can you phrase when you sing? Can you phrase your words in a Dio-type manner? And this is why I like this album a lot. So Tear comes in at number 11. Number 10 is Born Again. This is the 2 CD version, which the second disc is a bonus disc of live material. And the first disc has 2 extra songs. Songs in here, for the most part, are quite good. Trashed, my favorite. Stonehenge, Disturbing the Priest. The Dark, Zero the Hero. Digital Bitch, probably my least favorite song on the album. Born Again, the title track. Hotline and Keep It Warm, a slow song, but a good song. And then the 2 bonus tracks are The Fallen, which is an album session outtake, which I'm quite fond of. And then the extended version of Stonehenge is something I can do without. It's okay. I think this is underrated. I remember when MTV still used to show music videos. We're talking when this originally came out, and so it was on Headbangers Ball, and it was either Ricky Rathman or Mark the VJ. I can't remember his last name. I'm pretty sure it was Mark. He interviewed the band, and he asked them, does the title mean that you guys are born again Christians? And they were like, oh, no. They were like, no, that's not what it. And I remember reading an article about how Ian Gillan said that when they showed him the album artwork for this for the first time, he literally threw up. And if you know anything about the history of the album cover, they took this baby image, which was flesh colored from a Depeche Mode album, just looked like a normal baby that just had been born, and they of course changed the skin color to red and made it into the devil because of the yellow nails and teeth and the eyes. It makes me think of the horror movie It's Alive. Anyway, so I like this album quite a bit. So hence number 10. Number 9 is the reunion album, the first reunion album with Dio, Dehumanizer. And in a previous video I did, I think last week was on my favorite Dio, Ronnie James Dio fronted vocalist albums, and that didn't come out right. The video was on my favorite Ronnie James Dio albums, regardless of what band he was in, kind of thing. And I showed this album, and I thought there was a song I missed. I'm like, no, there isn't. There was. The song I missed to talk about was the song I. That's one of my favorite songs on this album. This album is great from start to finish. My favorite songs are I, Computer God, After All the Dead, and Time Machine. But like I said, I love the whole album. I is fabulous. Anyway, so number 9, Dehumanizer. Number 8 is Heaven and Hell. I know some people are going to be at my door with torches and pitchforks. I love Neon Nights, Children of the Sea, Heaven and Hell, and Lonely is the Word. Lady Evil's okay. Wishing Well, Die Young and Walk Away are, I don't listen to them very often. So there are 5 of the 8 songs that I really, really like. 4 that I think are phenomenal. So that's why it's number 8 in my list. Again, just an opinion. This is the 2 CD set, by the way, that came out I think a couple years ago. The bonus tracks are really not worth having. Just some live bits here. Anyway, the B-sides are worth having. The Children of the Sea live B-side and the Heaven and Hell live 7-inch edit. And there's a mono of Lady Evil, which I can do without. Anyway, so number 8, Heaven and Hell. Some of the best Black Sabbath songs of all time. The 4 that I mentioned are, again, Neon Nights, Children of the Sea, Heaven and Hell, and Lonely is the Word. All right, number 7, talk about more pitchforks and torches at my door. Volume 4 is only number 7. Let me talk about why. I love Wheels of Confusion. I love Tomorrow's Dream. I even like Changes, and a lot of people, hey, it doesn't go with the rest of the album, and it doesn't. But it's been a trend since the early '70s where you put out a hard rock album or heavy metal album, but you have that one slow song. That's oftentimes an expectation. I listen to Changes quite often. Is it a great song? No, but it's a good song. FX is something Tony Iommi does once in a while on an album. He'll put on the release a very short instrumental piece that we don't really need to introduce the next song. Just put it as part of Supernaut, which is number 5. Supernaut and number 6, Snowblind, 5 and 6, are the 2 best tracks on this album, if you ask me. Cornucopia is an okay song. Now, Laguna Sunrise I like, but for some reason, the tone isn't as captivating as the acoustic tracks like Orchid on Master of Reality and Fluff on Spiral Architect. I don't like the way Laguna Sunrise was produced or engineered. There's something off about it, tone-wise or otherwise. I like it for what it is, but it could have been better, well made or produced. St. Vitus Dance is an okay song for me. There are parts of it I really like, but there are parts of it I can do without. And Under the Sun is quite good. I would have traded places. I would have put Under the Sun where Supernaut is or Snowblind. I would have put Under the Sun where Snowblind is and ended the album with Snowblind, but that's just me. So anyway, number 7, is Volume 4. Oh, quick story regarding this. My introduction to Black Sabbath was Paranoid, and then my second introduction was Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and this was the third album by them that I listened to, and a friend had given this to me to listen to on vinyl, and I wasn't very much impressed. He was talking about how this is really better than Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and I don't think so. That's just my opinion, but I just wanted to give a quick story. I like it. But I don't think it's the creme de la creme, so to speak. So, but it made my top 10. So I like this album, but there's some tracks on here that I think need work. Okay, so number 6, The Mob Rules, an album I love start to finish. Dio-led album. You have Turn Off the Night, Voodoo, The Sign of the Southern Cross, E5I50. Which introduces the Mob Rules. This is my favorite little short piece that Iommi does to introduce another song. This one actually works for me. It's creepy. It's got that creepy voice that Lord knows what's being said, but it's just great. And then when Mob Rules kicks in, it makes it all the more heavy. Country Girls is fabulous, I think. Slipping Away is a good track. Falling Off the Edge of the World I really like. And Over is very much like Lonely is the Word on Heaven and Hell. A phenomenal, underrated track. It's quite good. It's that slow build up and then it gets heavy kind of piece. So, number 6, Mob Rules. Number 5, Black Sabbath. This used to be ranked much higher. And maybe down the line it could be ranked higher, but anyway, so you only have 5 songs, but some of the tracks are really 3-in-1s, 4-in-1s, that sort of thing. So Black Sabbath, the title track, The Wizard, and then track number 3 is 4 songs in 1. Wasp, Behind the Wall of Sleep, a nod to H.P. Lovecraft's short story, basically an NIB. The 4th song is Wicked World. And then the 5th song is 3 tracks in 1, A Bit of Finger, Sleeping Village, and Warning. This is a great album start to finish, and so it does make my top 5 at least. So the debut album. Number 4, arguably the first doom metal album of all time, Sweet Leaf, After Forever. Great lyrics here, a spiritual song. Embryo, Children of the Grave, my favorite song on this album, especially the live version. Orchid, Lord of this World, great heavy song. Solitude, a nice song. And Into the Void, also a great song. What a way to end an album. And arguably the first doom metal song of all time, Into the Void. Great album. Number 4. Number 3, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. For me personally, the best produced, best engineered, and from a tone point of view, best sounding album by Black Sabbath. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath starts with a very amazingly heavy song. And Ozzy's at his best when he sounds angry, and he sounds angry here. A National Acrobat, Fluff, great acoustic piece. Sabracadabra, Killing Yourself to Live. Who Are You, kind of a slow song, but quite good. Looking for Today, also quite of a slow song, but very good. And the wonderful, majestic Spiral Architect. The instrumentation on here, that kind of atmospheric part that's in the background and sometimes in the foreground, reminds me of the Moody Blues, but it works. Great Black Sabbath album. My 3rd favorite of all time. Here's where I came in. My 2nd favorite of all time, Paranoid. What can you say about War Pigs, Paranoid, Planet Caravan, Iron Man, Electric Funeral, Hand of Doom, Rat Salad, Fairies Wear Boots, that hasn't been said already. Great from start to finish. Fabulous. Often my number 1. Not lately. Fabulous. And finally, my favorite Black Sabbath of all time, wasn't always. Of the first 6 albums, for the longest time, this was my least favorite, but it's now my first favorite, and has been for about 3 or 4 years, and that's Sabotage. Now, the first 3 songs, Hole in the Sky, Don't Start Too Late, and then Symptom of the Universe. What we have here is the second song, Don't Start Too Late, is Iommi yet again having a small piece to introduce a song. Just make it part of the third song, which is Symptom of the Universe. You really have 2 songs that hit you over the head to begin with. Really, Don't Start Too Late is part of Symptom of the Universe. So what a great way to open an album. As I said, Hole in the Sky, Symptom of the Universe, and then you get Megalomania, a song I ignored for the longest time. One of the reasons why this is number 1, just a great song. Live, it's even better. on Past Lives. The Thrill of It All is quite good. Superstar, an homage to the Yardbirds, I believe. Am I Going Insane? Radio in parentheses, a great song. And then what a way to close an album, The Writ. Ozzy at his angriest, perhaps, and of course he's angry because this song is about how their manager screwed them over financially. So this is my favorite Black Sabbath album right now, of all of their 20 albums, including the Heaven and Hell album. Will it change? Who knows, maybe. But right now, this is my favorite. So just to add something to what I've said, so if we go back to the bottom of my list, Seventh Star, Eternal Idol, Cross Purposes, and Forbidden, with these four, and The Devil You Know, those five, really splitting hairs for the most part, because, like I said, there's nothing much, if anything at all, memorable about these albums, except for Ronnie's vocals, as I said. And these are albums I never listen to anymore. So these are the tiers of what I presented to you today. So the bottom tier is the five albums I never listen to anymore. Now, The Devil You Know, I may go back to and listen to see if something sparks, but I've done this to death. I don't think anything will, but at some point I'm going to give it a try. And then the three above that, Technical Ecstasy, 13, and Never Say Die. These are albums I rarely ever listen to anymore. Then the three above that, Born Again, Tear, and Headless Cross, or albums I often or frequently listen to. And then the top tier, Sabotage through Dehumanizer. Those 9 albums. These are not just albums I listen to often or frequently. These are 9 albums I listen to habitually. So they're even more frequently, so to speak. So there you have it, everybody. This is my ranking of Black Sabbath's discography from worst to first. Tell me what you think in the comments, please. And don't forget to hit the notification button so you can be apprised of upcoming videos, especially for this week coming up. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to keep the channel growing. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.